Let's talk about one of the most incredible and infamous stories in modern business history, the story of Enron. This was a company that was an absolute titan, the darling of Wall Street, and then it just vanished. So how does a company that everyone called America's most innovative fall so far, so fast? Let's get into it. I mean, think about that for a second. For 6 straight years, Fortune magazine put Enron at the top of their list. They weren't just seen as a successful company, they were seen as the future, a revolutionary force that was changing the entire energy game. By every measure, they were on top of the world. But behind all that glitz and glamour, there was a ticking time bomb. And to really understand what happened, it all starts with this one absolutely staggering number, $74 billion. And that number? Well, that's where the story gets really, really dark.
Yep, that's the amount of shareholder value that just evaporated. Poof, gone. This wasn't just a company going out of business. It was a financial black hole that swallowed the life savings and retirement funds of thousands upon thousands of people. So how on earth did this happen?
Okay, so to really get the fall, you first have to understand the incredible rise. Enron wasn't born a Wall Street superstar. It actually started out back in 1985 as a pretty straightforward pipeline company. Pretty boring, right? Well, its ambition was anything but.
Let me just paint a picture for you of Enron at its peak, around the year 2000. We're talking about the 7th largest company in the entire U.S., pulling in $100 billion in revenue. The stock was through the roof, and they had built the biggest online trading platform on the planet. From the outside, they looked completely unstoppable.
So who was behind all this explosive growth? Well, it was a new breed of super aggressive executives. And they had this big, game-changing idea. What if energy wasn't just a physical thing you bought and sold? What if you could trade it, just like stocks and bonds? And the mastermind behind it all was CEO Jeffrey Skilling. His idea was to create a gas bank. Enron would basically become the middleman for the entire energy industry, buying from suppliers, selling to customers, and making a fortune on the price swings. He literally turned a sleepy utility company into a high-stakes Wall Street-style trading floor.
And the culture inside Enron? Whoa, it was a total pressure cooker. If you made massive profits, you got massive bonuses, no questions asked. But they had this brutal system where every single year the bottom 15% of employees were just fired. It created this hyper-aggressive environment where hitting the numbers was the only thing that mattered.
And that obsession with profits, with keeping that stock price climbing no matter what, well, that's where things started to get really shady. To keep up the appearance of success, Enron started using some, let's say, creative accounting tricks. This is where they started building their financial house of cards.
Okay, so the first big trick up their sleeve was something called mark-to-market accounting. Now, this is technically a legitimate practice, but Enron twisted it into something else. In simple terms, it let them sign a 20-year deal and immediately book all the projected profits for those 20 years as if they had the cash in their pocket today. You can see the problem, right? They were filling their books with billions of dollars of imaginary profits, money from deals that might not actually make a dime for years, if ever. It created this huge gaping chasm between the incredible success they were reporting and the much, much shakier reality.
But that wasn't even the worst of it. Oh no. Their other, much darker tool was something called a special purpose entity, or SPE. Just think of these as little ghost companies that Enron set up for one purpose: to hide all their debt and their failing projects, tucking them away where investors would never see them.
And the guy running this whole shadow operation? That was the chief financial officer, Andrew Fastow. And get this, he was not only hiding billions in Enron's debt, he was personally making millions of dollars running these side companies. I mean, talk about a massive conflict of interest.
So you basically had two completely different Enrons. There was the illusion they sold to the world, skyrocketing profits, low debt, non-stop growth. And then there was the reality, massive hidden losses and billions in debt, all just propped up by accounting tricks. A total house of cards.
But you can't keep a secret that big forever. And someone on the inside saw it all coming. In August 2001, a VP named Sharon Walkins wrote this now famous memo to the chairman, Ken Lay, basically saying the whole company was a giant hoax that was about to implode. And what happened? Her warnings were totally ignored.
If you're enjoying this story, make sure to subscribe to Money Lessons by History for more business stories like this. But don't go anywhere,
because the next part reveals lessons every entrepreneur and investor must know.
All right, so they ignored the warning. And just like she predicted, the secret started bubbling to the surface. And that house of cards? It didn't just fall, it was absolutely obliterated.
This quote right here just says it all. I mean, it's wild. 16 years to build a corporate empire, and less than a month for the whole thing to turn to dust. The second that investor confidence disappeared, there was absolutely nothing left holding it up. And the dominoes fell so fast you could barely keep up. It starts in August, when CEO Jeff Skilling just abruptly quits. Then, bam, in October, they report a massive loss. By November, they're admitting they faked their earnings for years. The stock price craters to less than $1, and by December 2nd, it's over. Bankruptcy.
And this is just brutal to look at. From a high of over $90 a share down to just 26 cents. 25,000 employees had their retirement funds, their 401ks, their life savings just wiped out in the blink of an eye.
Obviously, a collapse this big triggered a massive investigation. It became one of the most complex white-collar crime cases in history, and it led to a complete overhaul of corporate law here in the U.S. So what happened to the guys at the top? Well, justice did come for them. The chairman, Ken Lay, was convicted but actually died before his sentencing. The CEO, Jeffrey Skilling, got 24 years in prison. And Andrew Fastow, the CFO who ran all those shady side companies, he pled guilty and got 6 years. The fallout from all this was immense. Congress passed a landmark new law called Sarbanes-Oxley to try and stop this from ever happening again. The scandal was so toxic, it even destroyed Arthur Andersen, one of the biggest accounting firms in the world. And most tragically, all those employees lost everything.
So now that we're decades out from this whole disaster, what can we actually learn from it all? Because believe me, the lessons here are more important and more relevant today than they've ever been.
The story of Enron really forces us all to ask a really important question. How do we spot the warning signs today? It's all about learning to look past the hype, past the flashy headlines, and really digging into the fundamentals of a company.
At the end of the day, it really boils down to a few timeless ideas. Ethical leadership has to come before short-term profits. Companies absolutely must be transparent with their numbers. The board of directors has to do its job and hold leadership accountable. And we have to protect and, most importantly, listen to whistleblowers.
But I'm curious what you think. What's the biggest lesson companies today should take away from Enron's spectacular collapse? Let me know what you think down in the comments. And hey, if you got something out of this, give this a like and subscribe for more stories of business success and failure.
Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.